Hey friends, this is a bonus track with our recent guest, Alasdair MacLeod. I'm calling it After the Call because after the call ended, we just kept talking, and he is truly one of the most knowledgeable and kindest guests that we've ever had on. And with his permission, we're releasing this After the Call with Alasdair MacLeod. We cover things like financial Armageddon and what it will mean to the masses if and when it happens. And Alasdair's conclusion is that it will mean starvation for many, many people. It's all quite scary, but it's an interesting conversation that I hope you enjoy. Alasdair, thanks so much. I'm going to get this posted as soon as I can, sometime tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. It's been it's fascinating. I can't wait until Monday to see what the hell goes on. It's going to be quite something, isn't it? It's going to be interesting.
Pray for peace.
The other thing we didn't say, I was interested to see how silver has underperformed over the last, 3 weeks. It really has underperformed, which tells me that the big money is really going into gold. I mean, it's going into, we want real money because of the risks on paper currency. It's gone for the pure play. It's an interesting one because, of course, one of the things I have in the back of my mind is that governments, could well turn around. I mean, if we really do get a sort of, financial war on a nuclear scale, Western governments could well turn around and ban ownership of gold again. That means that would be interesting because the alternative then is silver. Very, very strongly silver.
Yeah, interesting.
Because they wouldn't ban. I mean, there's no point in banning silver because you're going to screw up. I mean, they might say if you're going to buy silver, you've got to have a license to buy it or something, but they can't really do very much about silver. But they may well try and do something about gold. But the problem with trying to do something about gold is that any move they make from here, they're just going to drive the price higher.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and they could do something in this country, but they can't. I mean, they can't stop the whole world from valuing gold. I mean, they couldn't.
Well, exactly. I mean, can you imagine? Okay, G8, we're going to, or G20. G20 is the forum for this stuff now. All the members of G20 are going to be asked to agree to a new policy of banning their citizens owning gold. Germany, how do you vote? Whoops. I think you fall on the first fence,
Funny. Stop or I'll shoot.
Well, exactly. Myself, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing. Really, they have got themselves into a blind alley from which I cannot see what the escape is. I really can't. It's actually very worrying because we're dealing with a complete collapse of paper currencies, and people starve if that happens.
Oh my. Well, and if the currencies did collapse, I mean, what would the alternative on a global scale? Would they immediately switch to SDRs, or would the BRICS bank come into play at that point? I mean, and I wanted to ask you about the SWIFT situation because, the BRICS bank.
Yeah, but that's all paper. The paper has collapsed. So the idea that SDRs, which are backed by paper, I mean, I suppose in theory you could, SDR can be backed by a tiny bit of gold, but I mean, it doesn't deal with the problem. Okay. The problem is that here I am in the deep country in England, and my pound notes won't buy anything anymore. That is the trouble.
That's right.
It is a huge problem. I mean,
you open the vault and you get a coin.
It's a huge. This is potentially the ultimate risk that we're playing with. And I mean, I hope it doesn't come to that. And I think that there is such a childlike willingness amongst people to really want to believe that paper money actually has purchasing value of some sort, that it's going to take a hell of a lot to knock it. But, my God, central banks are trying to destroy their own currencies. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It is. It is. They are, and it's so transparent. Everybody sees it now. So I think that's been the biggest story of the past couple of years is that now we all know. Like, it felt like this was a best-kept secret for a long time, this precious metals thing, but now everybody on the planet knows it. I mean, certainly all the governments.
Well, they do. But this is the other thing that's interesting. I mean, why is it that the World Gold Council refuses to accept the level of demand from Asia for gold? I mean, they have been caught completely flat-footed. I mean, they started off by trying to determine, how much was actually used in jewelry, how much was used by industry, and how much was used, sort of taken by investors. That last one being a guess, and the guess really being the sort of balance of what they worked out with scrap and mine supply, and from what they could see in terms of jewelry demand and industrial demand. So it was a balancing figure. But you'd think that they would turn around now and say, we can see the amount of real demand that is going through the Shanghai Gold Exchange. That mustn't be confused with what we're doing. What we're doing is we're trying to identify use from the point of view of, GDP, a GDP consistent analysis. So, the true figures are what you actually see from the Shanghai Gold Exchange and what you see from the flows through Hong Kong. That's not to be confused with our lower figure of 1,100 tons. But they don't say that. They say 1,100 tons is identified demand, and it's completely wrong. I mean, we've got a situation. I mean, it makes me laugh because do you know the largest gold mine in the world at the moment, with exporting something like I don't know, probably a couple of thousand tons a year? It's the Square Mile. In London, we're the biggest gold mine in the world. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I mean, we must be a gold mine because, as far as the Bank of England is concerned, they're not supplying anything. They don't admit to anything. So, somebody must be digging it out of the ground somewhere. It's just nonsense, complete nonsense.
Oh, it is total nonsense.
Well, and that's why I keep asking, and I've asked several people, with all the demand that we can see with our own eyes, that is China. Where is the gold for the rest of the world coming from? And it blows my mind to think that China is taking up every ounce of global mine production, and but I can still go over to my local coin dealer, or I can go online and purchase gold coins. Where is it coming from?
Well, there's only one
this
place.
Is new coins.
Yeah, and exactly.
I mean, these are, this is 2014 gold eagles. I can go and buy those online right now, or I can go over to my local coin dealer, and I just don't know where the gold is coming from.
Well, there's only one place, and that's from the central banks.
Well, I guess there's only so many bars they've got left that they can dust off and throw over to Switzerland and say, melt them down and send them to China.
Well, this is it. Actually, there's another interesting thing I discovered from my contacts in the refining industry in Switzerland, and that is that the Arabs are sending their gold in for recasting, and they're having it recast from LBMA 995 standard into the new Chinese 1 kilo 49s. And they're taking it back. They're not selling it. I mean, basically, they're just sending it in, saying, "Can you just recast these and send it back to us, please?"
That is interesting.
That is interesting. I can't quite work it out, but I suspect that in the Middle East they are trying to move away from the West. I think they probably see instability in the West. They are probably suspicious of Western physical markets and think that actually, if we're going to have our gold in proper marketable form, which after all is the reason that you have it, then we'll recast it to the new Chinese standard. They're becoming Asian as opposed to sort of Westerners, if you like, in that sense. I think that gold is being used by China, Iran, and all the rest of it as, if you like, as a backstop, and then probably a backstop to pay on balance. So, I mean, in the Iranian situation, for example, they export oil to China. They will import various, sort of machine tools and consumer goods and whatever from China. There is a net balance, and that balance, I think, will be settled probably in gold. And that's the way it would be used. I think there's no way that we're going to see paper currencies being convertible into gold at all, not without the complete destruction of the paper currencies. And then a new paper currency regime may start off again with full gold convertibility.
Yeah, and that's
But
what I was asking a minute ago about with the SDRs. I mean, if this whole thing collapses and there's no more euros, there's no more dollars, there's no more rubles, there's no more rupees. I mean, what what would replace that? I mean,
yeah, well,
how would it even function?
the SDRs are comprised of the various paper currencies. So the SDRs would be completely useless as well.
I'm not suggesting that we would switch to SDRs. I'm just asking how would we function as a society and as a global community?
Well, that's an extremely good question. I mean, because without money, you're back to barter, and we've got rid of all our gold. I mean, silver in Europe, silver. Nobody's bought silver for the very simple reason that it attracts 20% value-added tax. So who wants to pay 20% tax in order to buy a commodity? If you store it outside Europe, then you can actually do it without paying VAT. But in terms of having something at home, silver can't really be done. Gold, some people have gold. We'll have to see how much comes available, if you like, for transactions in the absence of paper money. But the vast majority of people are going to face, I think, pretty well starvation. I mean, if you go to, we got a baker down the road in the local town who sells very nice bread. Okay, the miller is probably a good 200 miles away. How does he pay the miller without having money? How indeed does he arrange for the transport of the flour down to Sidmouth, our local town, in order to turn it into bread? I mean, everything, even at that very basic level, suddenly is disrupted. It's a very nasty situation.
Yes.
So let's hope it doesn't happen. I mean,
Yes.
much as we would like to see gold and silver go better. I mean, we really don't want this to go through to its ultimate conclusion. My problem is that I cannot see how we can avoid that ultimate conclusion.
Wow. It is scary, though, because we've talked about that for a very long time, which is we don't wish the collapse on people. We don't want this to happen because it's a worst case scenario, especially for those who are unprepared, which is most people. We want the central fiat banking. We want the criminal banking system to end. But how do you get out of it? How do you extricate humanity from it without really hurting humanity? It's a double-edged sword.
Exactly, and this is precisely the problem that all the central bankers have. I mean, any central banker who turns around and says to his colleagues, "Look, this is absolute bloody madness. We can't go on doing this," I think we'll be shot because you cannot have dissension in the ranks.
Yeah.
They have no alternative, and the reason that Janet Yellen was elected is because she is going to continue with the policies which everybody is stuck on. Nobody can follow any other policy but to print. And she is a supporter of that theory. And in her hands, at least the Fed won't deliberately collapse the system. The system will collapse despite the Fed, if you like.
Right. Well, you've been so generous. It's been an hour we've taken of your time today on a Saturday. Thanks so much.
It's so nice talking to you.
Well, it's a pleasure. I listened to you and Rory sort of speak the same language with this SGE.
Yeah. Well, it's been very much my pleasure, and as I say, I'm very happy to do this. Again, or whenever you want.
We very much appreciate that, and we would like it if you would consider becoming sort of a regular. Like if we could talk with you every couple months, maybe every 8-9 weeks or something, that would be terrific. Every 10 weeks, whatever works for you.
I would be very happy to do that.
Oh, we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that sounds great. That sounds wonderful.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Thank you, Alasdair.
Thank you.
If you can send me the link, I'd be very, very grateful.
Oh, I'm happy to do it.
Fantastic. That's lovely.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks to you both. Then.
Take care of yourself.
And you.
Bye.
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 Oh, what a class act. He's just the nicest man.
Not only is he really, really super nice, he is super knowledgeable.
Yeah, he is.
Thanks for tuning in, guys, and thanks for visiting us at sgtreport.com and thelibertymill.com. Real news 24/7. Good night.